Hello and welcome to another colony submission video here in Timberborn Update 7. This time with the Emberpelts. Finally, after a long while taking a look at some Iron Teeth and Folktale submissions, we're back with these guys. And yes, this is Diorama. Yes, this is 1,000 beavers. In fact, it's 1,200 beavers. You can see over on the upper left corner of the screen. This submission comes to us from a viewer named Lavoc. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Apologies if not. But this is simply astounding. I have to pause this to be able to show it to you because I'm currently getting 13 FPS at single time speed. But there's so much going on here. Again, 1,265 beavers. We have a third of them working, 2/3 of them not. No bots. We got flywheels, which again, one of my very favorite mods. But I love these these giant ones that don't have anything around them. I'm going to put it on 1x speed so you can see how this rotates. A little planetary gear system kind of thing here. It just looks so cool. And there's a lot of power stored here. These store 120,000 HPH each. And there are, I believe, 8 of them. But I do have to have this pause so we can actually move the camera around. Just look at that. It's not entirely radial symmetry 4 ways around, but it is looking really, really sweet. So let's go bottom to top. Take a look at what this map is made of. Of course, very bottom, the Emberpelts do have access to the underground piles. I don't think it's supposed to let you do this, but it did. So that's pretty cool. There's a lot of storage here. 72,000 water. We've got 44,000 food. We have 14,000 other liquids, which is what is over here, partially at least. We've got tomato juice, corn juice, beetroot radish juice, and apple juice. And then, of course, that is echoed on the other side. We have maple syrup over here. We got fuel, more water, phoenix essence, which is unique to the Emberpelts. It's used in a couple of different processes. Canola oil, and more fuel, more maple syrup. It's just, there's so much going on here. And there's even empty space, which you can already see is part of some dirt excavators. But if we go right back down to the very bottom again, you're going to notice basically every building has a tiny tubeway station. And I didn't get a whole lot in terms of submission notes on this one, but what I did get was basically them just saying it's Diorama with 1,000 beavers and mostly tubeways. And yeah, mostly tubeways. Everything's got a tiny tubeway station on the entrance, and there are tubeways connecting everything down here. In fact, I don't see a single piece of path on this lowest level. You go up a couple levels, you can see going up through the terrain, and everything just separated really nicely here. Again, tiny tubeway stations. This is where the water comes up. We'll see that later. You've seen so much of it from my playthrough, but the way that this map was treated and this playthrough is just so incredibly different. I would never have thought to do this. Got trees down here, pine trees, tapper shacks. Once again, everything almost entirely connected with the tiny tubeway stations, except we do have this path section here to allow them to get around the entrance. We've got some beavers with broken teeth that are grinding their teeth on the teeth stones. The grindstones for their teeth. Right outside the tiny tubeway station, so they're kind of like halfway into the doorway. I thought that was kind of funny. But yeah, just really, really, really tightly designed with minimal paths whenever possible. And the way that they ended up doing their connections layer to layer, very different from what I did. You're going to notice there's not a lot of pillars here. So what ended up happening was they took advantage of the different layers you can do with all the terrain going up and out a little bit more every single layer. And then on top of that, we've got some overhangs, which if we go up this level, you're not going to see unless I go completely on the side here. But because this is a 3-high block, so you could have all of your trees underneath, they're able to get it so that there's not really that many pillars taking up ground space, which I thought was really cool. Then, of course, this level has a whole bunch of farms very nicely laid out in a grid. We've got all of our crops. We got corn. We got tomatoes, we got radishes, we've got more tomatoes, we've got radishes around the outside, we got radishes around the inside, we got just everything present here. Beets on this side, more tomatoes, more beets, more tomatoes, more beets. Everything you could possibly ask for. And again, doing a similar setup with this, even though there's only a 2-high bit here, because of the way the crops are laid out, the radishes only require a single height. Whereas something like tomatoes or other crops may require more. So they have the ability to make use of that based on their planning, which I thought was very nice. Another level up here, you already know the drill. We got canola, we got wheat, we got more canola, we got more beets, more corn, more bell peppers over here. Just set up really, really nicely with minimal impact to the actual level on which you were growing things. And then, of course, the mine is what it is. Of course, connected with tiny two-way stations down into the network way down here. And then at that point, it stops going up so everything can get connected. But don't fear, there's more two-way stations here. And right here, this is where the bad water source is on our map. I'm using it for power on this map. It's been capped, so bad water can just be directly, taken out of here with the help of some extract. On the turbo function here, you can, of course, put this on regular extract, and it'll just, it'll extract bad water, but it doesn't use extract, the noun, to help you. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about if you played Emberpelts. Over here, and on the other side of the map, we do have some contemplation spots. Some of the few points on the map where you will see some pathing. Nicely laid out once again. Not quite radial symmetry, but wherever possible, stuff matches across different parts of the map. So that takes care of two of the things that cannot be moved on the map. The only one left is the water source, which we go up another level. You can see that is still going past this, but yet another farm level, nicely organized. Go up again, and now this is where the water comes up. See the source blocks right here. Very simple, very effective bad water diversion going off the map here. We got clean water coming out this way, kind of pressurized. You can see we have right here these platforms, and then on top of those other things that will show up when I move up another level, the impermeable floors. And then this shaft goes up, but just to come right back through here, this is where your district center is. Again, connected, Beavergrad would be what this is named, connected to the tiny tube-way stations. And then this is a tube-way levee that allows that to go, well, I actually don't see it going anywhere through here. Interesting choice. But I guess at some point this was used for construction and then just sealed off. So automated water pumps, if you played Emberpelts, you're familiar with. If not, these are, as the name implies, automated water pumps. But they have a lot of capacity, and they don't have to be manned. So that really, really makes it a whole lot easier to have 1,200 beavers on a map like this. You can just have this thing go to town infinitely, forever, segmented with some sluices so this doesn't completely drain and doesn't completely flood everything else. You can just use the positive pressure from the height of the reservoir, which, by the way, goes all the way up to here, this level, technically. And it just empties very cleanly, very safely into these little pools here. You got campfires around the outside, right in the middle. And then after you get up a few more levels, you start having some housing. And what's really cool about the Emberpelts, we talked about in one of the other videos where I reviewed one of those colonies, is there was a change made kind of early on in the mod development that enabled all of the houses that connect to share a single doorway. Or vice versa, anything connected can share any doorway that's connected to anything that's connected. So you can get some really, really interesting designs going with the Emberpelts that would not be possible, at least not that easily, with the Folktails or the Iron Teeth. But again, what you see here is plenty more in the way of recreation with the exercise plazas connected to hauling posts. Again, this is all bio beavers. There's no bots. Really, really nicely and pleasantly arranged all the way around. And as you go up, you do see this stuff start to connect more and more as more layers show up. These double vertical lodges all light up at the same exact time. So you know what that means. It means they're all connected. Every last one is connected to every other lodge. And we have, wow, tribute to ingenuity right here and right there and right there and right there. And again, everything's connected. Every last thing is connected. And they all share power and they all share doorways. And I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, there is a way somewhere around here to see some of these pathways that you can get with the houses here. Actually, these aren't unlocked, really. I thought for sure I'd seen some of that. Okay. Well, that's an add-on for the Emberpelts that you can get. But a point I'm trying to make is that literally everything goes through everything else. It is just one giant, I guess, beaver dormitory that can hold 12,000. Yeah, there you go. That would be a frame rate killer for sure. 1276 because there's one unoccupied bed. But just look how cleanly and how efficiently this space is utilized, folks. It is almost perfectly symmetrical all the way around. I love this so much. And yeah, you come up here, there's even more housing. It's a lot of houses to have 1,200 beavers. But it just keeps coming up in a pyramid or a ziggurat. I think that's the term. Like, this is a little busy. If you don't know what you're looking for, you might miss it. But look, there's so much here. Flames of Unity. We've got, labor monuments. And of course, the Wonder of Fire, which is part of the mod. That is their final thing, which we will set off before we say goodbye today. But man, just look at this. And of course, like I said, everything's connected with tubeways. Every last thing, and there's very, very, very few paths. Only when absolutely necessary to get everything connected. And there's benches. And look at the well-being. It's 74. Everything, with the exception of 100% usage of the detailers and the carousels, is represented. The frog statues, because I have the mod installed, they don't. That's not on them. Just, man. Aside from the broken teeth and the injuries, this is almost perfect. Almost completely perfect. And you know how rare that is. So, I admittedly don't know exactly where everything is. I do want to check it out, though, where these carousels are. So there's only 2 of them, which might explain why not everyone has that boost. Oh, this is so smart. They're underneath this in the corner. Let's peel this back a little bit. Wow. I would not have thought to do that. Because of the way this is set up, you just have these power shafts go in, and then you're good to go. I would not have thought to, put those underneath there. So, before we say goodbye, let's try to do first person. I can't promise this is going to work great because, well, this is... Oh, it dropped me in the bottom. Hold on. Let's see if there's any place on this map that's going to allow me to go. It doesn't always cooperate with platforms. There we go. Oh, man, this is lagging so hard. I can't pause in first person mode because space is tied to jump. But just look how neat this is. You can look up and you can see all this stuff. I'm going to try to get higher if I can, but I can't promise anything just because of how just completely nuts this whole thing is. Can I get up here at all? Anymore? Like sometimes you can have a little bit of success trying to just jump up this way. All right. Now we're up at the very top. We've got our various campfires that we can... Well, not campfires. These are the rooftop campfires. Just look how cool and how dense everything is. Oh, hey there. Isn't this just nice? Don't you just love this? Everyone is just enjoying themselves. And we've got painted tails, too. Which reminds me, I need to check and see where the detailers are. I want to see what patterns are on this. Wait, there's no detailers? Oh, that's the wrong tab. Okay, I was about to say, I know there's detailers. I just saw tails that were detailed. There we go. We got 12 of those bad boys. Yep, so this is one of the default stickers. These are because I have these installed. This is not what the user has installed. I've never actually used these, so I thought that was a custom sticker just for the Emberpelts. But that is pretty cool. Pretty cool. I am curious, though. The Emberpelts mod does have custom beaver names, and I want to see who's present in this. Now, I'm going to miss a bunch of them that happened last time, but I've been told, yeah, there's 4 battery smooths. I've been told I'm in this one, but I've yet to see it. I know I've passed a couple of them so far. All right, we're looking for the JCs. I don't see it. That's too bad, but one of these days it'll pop up. It's either this or it might be water beavers that has me in there. But always neat to take a scroll through here. And okay, here's Taubert. Yep. Oh, that scrolled way past it. Wow, we have 5 Tauberts. How about that one? Man, so many names. I gotta fix my name mod so I can actually have all my beard boosters in there, but that is a gargantuan task. Anyway, I like this a lot. I thought this was super awesome. So, sun is going down. You know what's happening here. We're going to launch our Wonders of Fire. Both of them. And I'm going to try my best to allow this to get me up here. It might not play nice. Oh, there we go. So we should see. There it is. Look at that thing turn around. No, you're blocking the view. Move. Look how cool that is. And then on the other side, you can see that same thing happening. Oh, I'm so sorry. This is doing all sorts of jittering around because it's a very, 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 very complicated, large, completely full map. And look at that. Isn't that a nice effect? But yeah, that's going to be it for this one. I was really impressed with the intricacy of the design and how well everything is connected, and honestly, just the 1,200 beavers of it all. Because I think the diorama, if you have stuff set correctly, probably could support a lot more than 1,000. But it would require something like the Emberpelts, where you can have drinkable liquids basically made from nothing. Perspective for putting in all the different ingredients and all that. But I think if you really, really wanted to jam a bunch more beavers in here, you could probably get to 2,000 with the Emberpelts without them dying. You just wouldn't have as much variety of food. I don't know. Food for thought. I don't know if anyone has a computer that can handle it, but I would be very, very curious to see. But I digress. Once again, thank you very much for submitting this. I always love to see all the different things you guys come up with. So if you have something you're particularly proud of or you'd like to see on the channel, please do submit to the link in the description of the video. I'm not planning on ever closing these. I just don't know exactly how many more of these I'm going to be able to do before we need to get into other stuff. But, like I said, if you have Emberpelts or water beavers or anything else that isn't necessarily Iron Teeth on diorama, then I very much would like to see that, although you can submit whatever you like. I want to show as much variety and as many neat things as I possibly can in these videos, as long as we're doing these twice a week. So, I talked about beard boosters already very briefly, but those folks really do make it possible to do stuff like this, where we take a look at everybody's submissions and put our ongoing series on the back burner for just a little bit. Give me a little bit of a break to try and catch up with some other stuff, because some of those videos take like 5-6 hours to make. And I do these every single day, and I have other stuff I have to do. But the support of those folks makes it possible to continue what we're doing here, and most importantly, keep things sponsor-free. You are the sponsors, and I am beholden to you, and I'm not beholden to these giant companies, and that's the way I would rather have it, because I feel like that is a more authentic, community-based relationship that I think the world is really, really missing. So, doing my small part to help make that happen, and you guys are definitely a huge part of it. So, that's going to be it for this one. Once again, really appreciate you being here. We'll see you tomorrow for another one of these colony submission reviews, and after that, we'll be back with our regular series. Whatever it is you're doing, stay safe, have fun, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye.